Namaste, everybody. Welcome back to Dr. Pai's astrology channel. Today we have back with us our lovely Kṣaṇāti from Kṣaṇāti Jyotish. And the topic for our conversation of the talk today is Dharma of every nakshatra, which I'm super excited about. And it's a very unique topic. Thank you, Kṣaṇāti. Welcome.
Namaste, Navjeet ji. I'm such an honor and pleasure to be here with you today. I've missed you and working with Dr. Arjun Pai Astrology's channel. I'm happy we could make the time today. Things have been quite busy in preparation for this year's Maharishi Parashara Conference, which will be November 21 to 25. Dr. Pai and Togi and Santip will all be presenting this year, amongst other good astrologers like Sanjay Rath and Sarbani and Dr. Foss and Camilla. And so I've been doing previews on my channel and just very busy with that. So it's good to actually be here and to be presenting some of my research today. I'm very excited to be doing the topic of the Dharma of each nakshatra. Some of the reason behind why I wanted to do this series is actually because, historically and in many traditions, Jyotisha is primarily used as a predictive tool. And while this is beneficial aspect of Jyotish, it doesn't always help the individual. First of all, according to the curse of Brigu, we can only be up to 70% accurate. So no Jyotisha can be 100% accurate with any predictions. But one of the things that I find most important about Jyotish and that I like to teach all my students is Jyotish as a therapeutic tool. And in that therapeutic tool, we understand the most important thing is the Purusharthas, in which the purpose of the Jyotisha is to help each of their clients and everyone to achieve the Vedic four aims of life, Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. And if you have any planet in your chart, they're going to be, depending on if they're in the first 5-9 house, affecting Dharma, 2-6-10 Artha, 3-7-11 Kama, 4-8-12 Moksha. But actually, if any planet is in any nakshatra in your chart, then it is influencing your Dharma, because life is Dharma. So there is some aspect of a position that, now, of course, if a planet is in houses 1, 5, 9, or is in a Jupiter is in this nakshatra, then it may even have more to do with Dharma. But if you have any planet in any nakshatra, it is an influence on your Dharma. So this is why I want to do this series today, to understand, okay, you have any planets in any of these nakshatras, understanding the Dharma of that nakshatra can help you as a therapeutic tool to understand yourself and the role that you have in this life. So I'm very excited. We're going to be doing 3 nakshatras per episode. So today we're going to be discussing Ashwini, Bharani, and Krittika nakshatra and how they may influence an individual Dharma.
That's perfect. Yes, I'm on the same page as you, Kṣaṇāti, about Jyotish, the therapeutic part of it and the psychology, and to really understanding and making those changes that more than just predictive. So yeah, super excited for this.
Sometimes I think the predictive is just an astrologer showing off. But
Yeah.
I'm not really helping anybody unless they can understand it as a therapeutic integration aspect. So this is just very key, and I'm very excited. I'll just start a chant to our guru, Amritananda Mayima, before I get started, asking her to come in and help us today. Tvameva matacha pitta tvameva, tvameva bandhuta saka tvameva, tvameva vidra javanam tvameva, tvameva sarvam amriteshwaryai namah, tvameva sarvam amriteshwaryai namah, tvameva sarvam Mata Amritananda Mahima Maharani ki Jai. Hari Aum Namah Shivaya. Namaste.
Yes.
Well, I'm very excited. Let's get started with the Dharma of Ashwini Nakshatra. Ashwini Nakshatra is in the first Rashi, which is Aries, and Ashwini will fall from the 0 degree in Aries to 13.2 degrees in Aries. So what is Ashwini Nakshatra Dharma all about? Ashwini Nakshatra that's influencing Devata is um, going to be the Ashwini Kumars, the physicians of the gods, as well as the influencing Graha of Ketu. But I want to understand that people say, oh, well, this planet rules this nakshatra. No planet ever rules a nakshatra. Devata always rules the nakshatra. So there is an influencing planet, which means, okay, I can understand the energy of this nakshatra through this planet, but only the devatas rule over us. No planets rule over us because the devatas rule over the planet. So we must keep this hierarchy in order. So when we're looking at the influence of the Ashwini Kumars, we think of this as they are foundational to Ayurveda. And many people will think, okay, if I have an Ashwini Nakshatra position, I have a Dharma of being a healer. And depending on if it's in the career or maybe one of the Arta Bhava houses like 2610, maybe there is something to do with the career, which has to do with healing. But much more deeper is that the Ashwini Kumars represent that we are on a healing journey within ourselves.
Mm.
And there's the old adage that says, okay, well, we can't take care of anyone else if we can't take care of ourselves. And actually, many people within Ashwini Nakshatra position have either physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual challenges that they must overcome. So the Dharma of the Ashwini position is actually to be whole within oneself. There is a sense of wholeness, a sense of completeness, which means we must learn to nourish ourselves because sometimes the Ashwini native, and again, any planet in this nakshatra, but especially 159 ascendancy or Jupiter nakshatra, we can understand that they want to take care of people. They want to, okay, I want to take care of my family. I want to take care of my friends. I want to take care of my partner. But usually it comes at the expense of the neglect of oneself. So there's a very important dharmic evolution to really prioritize one's mental and spiritual and emotional well-being. And this has to do with, to align to the Dharma of the Ashwini Nakshatra. That means to eat the proper diet, to get the proper amount of sleep. I mean, one of the things I want to integrate into this process is remedies. So, I mean, integrating, okay, so I'm kapha dosha. I need to make sure not to eat too much cheese, to eat too much meat, to have too much sugar. Oh, I'm a vata dosha. Well, maybe I should have a little meat. Maybe I should have more paneer. Maybe I should have more of these warming spices. So it's eating the dosha appropriate diet and also getting enough sleep. If we need exercise, if we're more kapha dushti, if we're vata dushti and we need extra rest, if we're pitta and we need to learn to just take it easy, like relax, come on, pitta, take a chill pill. So there's this vibration of, okay, we have this essential energy within inside of ourselves. And so what are we doing to kind of balance that? What are we doing to kind of heal that? Now, once this aspect of the dharmic evolution of Ashwini is complete, then the question is how can we serve others? You know? And so, there's always an Ashwini Dharma, which is, okay, I'm whole. So then the people that I love, the area of life that Ashwini is affecting, how can I be in service to that area? Because actually, if you go back to the old stories of the Ashwin twins, they were pretty like Deva-like. They were considered demi-devas, which is like, very close to Deva energy. But this was not enough for them. They seek the Amritam, they impose themselves as so that they asked the priest so that they could do the Amritam ceremony. And that's when they got their head cut off, which is why they have the horse heads anyway. So we have to understand that there's also a humility that is an essential part of the dharmic vibration for Ashwini, which is why Ketu is the influencing planet, because Ketu wants to keep us humble, as a moksha karaka is trying to keep us in touch with our humanity, even though sometimes through medicine, why are we being so healthy? Why do we take 10 herbs? And why do we, well, maybe it's because we want to live forever, and no human being lives forever. So it's really this beautiful balance of care of self, care of others, taking care of the body, but knowing that we can't live forever, and service towards others is only allowed from the space of nourishment within one's own self. So these are just some of the highlights of Ashwini Nakshatra Dharma that I wanted to discuss. So I hope that was interesting.
Very beautifully put together and just summed in, yeah. Yeah, I know a few Ashwinis and I can see, I'm not sure if I'll use, if this is appropriate word to use, but maybe a little of, like you said, taking care of everybody as his needs. So maybe a little bit of people pleasing in a way. So yeah,
100%, 100%. And so
yeah,
self-care and self-love is a big dharmic evolutionary process for them.
yes, yeah, accepting self, yeah, yes.
Perfect. Yeah. So the next nakshatra I wanted to discuss is Bharani nakshatra, which falls in Aries as well, in the heart of Aries, from 13.2 degree Aries to 26.4 degrees Aries. And so Bharani nakshatra dharma is quite beautiful. So we have the influencing planet of Shukra, of Venus, but we have the ruling devata of Lord Yama.
Mm.
And I really love to talk about Bharani Nakshatra because in some of my astrological texts, it really hints at what the afterlife is. Because Lord Yama is the one who guides us through the afterlife. And so a lot of people think that in Bharani Nakshatra, oh, they're afraid because Lord Yama. Well, first of all, the fact that Lord Yama is influencing your dharma is a blessing. It's not something to be afraid of. Sometimes in the Western world where there is Christianity, Judaism, Islam, we're brought up in the understanding that God is to be feared. But no, God is love, right? Alma teaches us this. So the idea of us being judged for our karmas at the end of our life can be scary to some, but Lord Yama, the reason that Yama was made the judger of souls is because Lord Yama is the kindest, the fairest, the sweetest of all judges.
Mm.
All Lord Yama does is integrate all of the lessons that we've learned in our previous life and gives us blessings for the lessons that we've learned. And the lessons that we haven't learned, Lord Yama just kind of prepares our chart for our next lifetime so that we can actually learn the lessons that we didn't learn. So it's a service that Lord Yama is offering to us. So understanding this concept of the Dharma of the Bharani Nakshatra native, which is very progressive, is to learn all of the lessons that we need to learn in this lifetime. What are our soul's deepest lessons? Because sometimes people in life, they don't care to learn what they're supposed to learn. They're not trying to learn everything that they need to. They're not trying to think of life as one big lesson basket. But that's all that life is. So the Bharani Nakshatra native has the potential to truly learn what they're given as their karmas to learn in this lifetime. And that's a true blessing. And it says that that blessing is rewarded by Lord Yama himself.
Mm.
Many people describe the reincarnation process, especially when we are afraid of death, when we have many attachments to life, when we haven't learned what we're supposed to learn, as okay, the Atma leaves the Jiva, and then next thing you know, we're born again, which means
Mm.
there's no memory, there's no awareness, there's no experience of the afterlife. Because we're afraid of death, we're not allowed to see it. We're blocked from it. And according to the ancient Vedic literature, Yama has his minions, like his little angels, called the Yamadutas. And the Yamadutas are, when we experience this journey of not really fully committing to the evolution in our lifetimes, Lord Yama sends his Yamadutas to escort the Atma to the Svarga, to the celestial dimension, where it's prepared for its next process of reincarnation. But there's no awareness of this. So in many ways, this is sad. The Bharani Nakshatra Dharma is the opposite of this because we have the potential to learn everything that we're supposed to learn. And it says that when this happens, Lord Yama comes to the Atma himself on earth in the form on his water buffalo. And it's this beautiful divine experience where Lord Yama shows up to the Atma and says, "We know you were excited for this reincarnation process. Let's go on a journey." And I would imagine it's like going on a roller coaster ride at the amusement park. It's supposedly, as Yogananda describes it in some of his writings, there's geometric shapes and rainbows and colors, and you get to see all your ancestors, and you get to see all the ascended masters, and you get to see all the gods. So Bharani Nakshatra natives have the experience to be fully awake and escorted into the Svarga, the celestial dimension, and experience the afterlife in this truly beautiful way. So, I mean, I really think the Dharma of, one of the things I'll say about the Dharma of the Bharani Nakshatra native is that they would not do anything alone that they wouldn't do in front of a large group of people.
Okay.
Because God is always watching. And the truth is that God is always watching. God is always with us. But having this energy of Lord Yama in on our lives causes the native to say, okay, well, just because I can get away with something doesn't mean I should, because it's still creating karma.
Mm.
And I energetically want Lord Yama to come on the water buffalo and escort me on this beautiful journey into the afterlife. So I better not do this thing in privacy just because I can get away with it. It's like stealing when no one is looking. It's still theft. It's like someone being married and kissing another person just because the partner isn't looking. It's still adultery.
Mm.
Just because you can't get away with something, karma teaches us there is no getting away with anything just because you don't get caught. You still get caught by God. And that's what the Bharani Nakshatra native is deeply integrated in their Dharma. The last thing I will say about Bharani Nakshatra is that the influencing planet is Venus. So what does it mean to learn all of the lessons that we're supposed to learn? Well, connected to this aspect of we wouldn't do anything alone, that we wouldn't do in front of a large group of people, there's a strong influence on Bharani Nakshatra of our relationship with pleasure, our relationship with the senses. See, some human beings suffer from a condition which is called hedonism, which is the addiction to pleasure.
Mm.
Pleasure seeking. Oh, I want this drug, alcohol, sex. I want this food. I want to, take 6-hour showers and sleep all day. And listen, who doesn't like a long shower and a sleep in? But those are extreme examples. So the real evolution of Bharani Nakshatra is to say, okay, pleasure is great, but it's fleeting. And it isn't true pleasure. True pleasure is reunion with God, is the assimilation of our lessons, is karmic integrity. So there's really a sensory evolution, and that doesn't mean to deny yourself pleasure. But Bharani Nakshatra is not renunciative, because we have to understand that we deserve to have pleasure. We all want a puri once in a while. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean that you have puri and paneer 3 meals a day. Sometimes you need some dal. So it's just the balance of this experience of, of our relationship with the material world, our relationship with pleasure. That's a huge aspect of the Dharmic influence for the Bharani Nakshatra native as well. So I hope that was interesting. And I hope all Bharani Nakshatra natives understand that having Lord Yama with them is a gift and not a challenge.
Beautiful.
So then the last one we're going to do today is Krittika Nakshatra, and Krittika Nakshatra falls from 26.4 degrees of Aries to the 10th degree of Taurus. So this is a cusp nakshatra, which means it falls partially in one Rashi and partially in another Rashi. The influencing planet is Surya, the sun, and the influencing or the ruling devata is Lord Agni, the god of fire. And so understanding Kritika Nakshatra, the cutter, the sword, the one who permeates and pushes past and cuts through all things, the critical one. Actually, the one of my favorite meanings of Kritika is the critical one. So then what is the dharmic vibration of critical? Well, when we think of critical, we think of being judged, right? Oh, that person's critical on me. They told me that my hair was too puffy today. That
Mm,
person, I was critical of that person. I didn't like the way that they were talking on their cell phone at the restaurant,
mm,
right? We receive criticism and we give criticism. And I don't know one human being that doesn't, except maybe Alma. Although she'll still be very critical because she wants us to reach our spiritual evolution. And actually, she has Kritika position, but we won't go too much into groups.
yeah.
Um, but we must understand that the Dharma of Kritika is that what here's a perfect example. They say that when you point the finger at someone else, then there are two pointing back. So the Kritika native has this dharma in terms of and the real energy is of Kritika. You know, why is that critical energy positive? It's because it wants to get to the bottom of things. It wants to see the way things really are. And it does not want any bullshit. It does not want any nonsense. It wants to get to the bottom of things. The Kritika natives, they hate superficial conversations. They like to get very, very deep. Um, but criticism often doesn't serve our closest relationships. Listen, if you
Mm,
have a job and you want to have that business succeed and you have employees, or maybe you are a spiritual teacher and you want your students, or just a regular teacher and you want your students to do well on the examinations or homework, then you need to be critical. But being critical of our parents and our siblings usually doesn't help with the relationship. Being critical of our partner, that definitely doesn't help, you know? So to understand that a lot of times in modern psychology, what we understand as criticism falls under displacement, which means actually I'm being critical of you because I don't like this thing within myself.
mm, yeah.
So really, the dharma of Kritika Nakshatra is to be judgmental, but not to be judgmental of others, but to be fair and kind, judgmental towards ourselves, so that we must become the best person we can be. The sword needs to cut into our truest nature.
Mm,
And that is why the sun is the influencing planet here, so that by cutting into our true nature and getting rid of all of the nonsense, getting rid of all of the Maya, getting rid of all of the illusion, we're allowed to truly shine in who we are. Therefore, Lord Agni, the devata of power and strength and courage and determination, is allowed to truly shine because we are swasta. We are standing in our true self. So, and then also with there's a very important thing to understand as well. Cutting of Kritika Nakshatra is cutting away unnecessary karmic ties. One of the things that I really emphasize with Kritika Nakshatra is that Kritika is a powerfully ancestral nakshatra. Usually, people with strong Kritika positions have a lot of karma they're getting from their parents, grandparents, great grandparents, the country that their grandparents were born from. The origin of their genetics is strongly influencing them. And yet, there's always unfair pressure from our ancestors. See, like a lot of times we have a certain part of our dharma with Kritika Nakshatra, which we really need to tap into in order to be able to shine. And yet, maybe our parents didn't support it. Maybe our grandparents didn't support it. Listen, I'm the perfect example. I have Jupiter and Krittika Nakshatra in my fourth bhava. My grandfather was a plastic surgeon. My grandmother was a Supreme Court justice. Both of my parents are lawyers.
Mhm.
So after finishing business school, when I told them I wanted to go study Ayurveda and Jyotish, they looked at me like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's powerful as what Krittika is about, because who knows with my parents whether they actually wanted to be lawyers. They were told to be lawyers. That's why they become them. Who knows whether they were truly allowed to shine in what they truly were, like the Agni and Sun wants us to do. My grandparents coming over from Ukraine were very, very poor. They had no choice but to try to make it in this world, and they had to take regular job. Who knows if they want? Actually, my grandmother, who's a Supreme Court justice, her greatest passion is astrology.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she always says, I wish I could become astrologer, but instead she was lawyer, divorce lawyer, judge, justice.
Mm.
Because there's a lot of pressure in early immigration coming over to this country to make something for yourself in this world. So the
Yeah.
Kritika Nakshatra native, what is the cutting? The cutting is cutting the pressure that your family put on you when they were still in their physical form.
Yes.
Because what our ancestors truly want is to shine in our power and to be true to ourselves.
Yeah.
So there's a strong dharmic vibration of Kritika Nakshatra to cut away the pressure or the shoes that our family wants us to fill in terms of our dharma, and to be true to ourselves. And but at the same time, because it's an ancestral nakshatra, we have to honor our culture.
Mm.
I'm saying, so I still honor my culture, like even though I practice, like, I converted to Hinduism as a teenager, like I still do the Jewish holidays, like for my family or whatever, because and cook all the Jewish foods and all of this stuff, because that's my way of honoring my ancestors. But my belief system is of the Vedic.
Right.
So that's me being true to myself, but that doesn't mean that I abandon the culture of my ancestors who, like, died in the Holocaust so that they could have their freedom to practice their culture.
Mm.
So it's a real balance there. So the Dharma of Krittika Nakshatra is really about working on oneself, cutting away the falseness, learning not to judge others, and really pushing that fair judgment on ourselves so that we can shine in ourselves, as well as cutting painful ancestral ties, but at the same time honoring the culture and tradition that the Pitrus, that our ancestors truly come from. So that's an elaboration on Kritika Nakshatra, and I've really enjoyed getting into this series. I can't wait for our next episode together.
Thank you so much, Kṣaṇāti. As always, I really enjoy our podcast and our conversations, and I really learn a lot. And I just love it the way you put it all together. And I've learned so much new today for all the three nakshatras. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much. And I hope you guys all enjoyed our podcast. And if you have any other questions, just leave us a comment below. And we'll be back with the Taurus series.
Perfect. Can't wait.
Yes. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.